Evangelist Suzanne Neal. It's truly an honor to be in your hearing on this afternoon. This afternoon I have a panel that's going to speak with me or speak with us, those of you that are listening. We have Pastor Stephan Broden that's here to speak with us. He's pastor of Fair Park Bible Fellowship Church, which he established in 1987. He is an advocate, and I'm going to allow him to share what God has placed on his heart. And also we have Evangelist Marjorie Williams. She is a dear friend of mine, and she's also here to share some things that God has placed up on her heart. And as we know that we are in the election season, and it is important for the people of God, and I'm talking to you Bible believers, I'm talking to people that say that they believe what the words say. It's important for us to have an understanding that when we go to the polls, that we will vote with our convictions and not because of something that our flesh desires. And so Pastor Broden is here, Evangelist Williams is here, and I want to allow them to chime in on this conversation. Pastor Broden is an advocate, and one of the topics that we want to talk about is abortion, because we know that that's a big thing in our community. And he's going to share with us some things that he had, that God has given him as an advocate. And hey, it's just wide open. You know, it's wide open. God bless you, sir.
Well, it's good to be with you this afternoon and to be a part of this dialogue, a necessary dialogue that we need to have in this election cycle. And why abortion? Well, I had a chance during the debates, if you at all were paying attention to the debates in the last debate, the candidate from the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton, said very clearly that she is going to advocate for a woman's right to choose. That means she's advocating for abortion and also for the LGBT community. And so she's going to advocate, and her administration will push those two agendas. And she named them first on the list of things that she said is going to be important for her to pursue. So we are, as Christians, need to recognize that and to begin to think through whether we should support a party that is supporting a philosophy or an idea that contradicts our faith and contradicts the Word of God.
Yes, and I would like to chime in and say that also she was accused of agreeing that babies could be aborted up until the 9th month, even the day of delivery, and she did not deny that. And actually, she said, she believes if the woman's health, is at risk, then we can do that. But the reality is that fewer than 1% of women get abortions for health reasons, and we have cesarean sections for that. You don't have to do a partial birth abortion, which is a horrible, horrible thing to do to a child.
Oh, absolutely. Partial birth abortion, and by the way, is that they allow the baby to come through the birth canal right up to the point where the head is still within the womb. And they take a pair of scissors, puncture the back end of the baby's head, and use a vacuum suction device to suck the brains of the baby out of the baby's head. This is what Hillary Clinton is advocating for. And as Marjorie has said, less than 1% of all abortions in America are performed to save the mother's life. So that means 99.5% of all other abortions are for convenience as opposed to necessity. And it's necessary for us to talk about this. The number one killer in our community is abortion. When you look at all the pathologies that are impacting our community, HIV/AIDS represents about 4,139 deaths per year. Deaths by homicide or firearms is about 6,100 per year annually. Death by diabetes, which is a big deal in our community, by the way. 12,771 die by diabetes annually. Death by accidents, 12,299. Death by cancer, 66,158. Death by heart disease, which is a big killer in the black community, 90,880. When you combine all those figures together, it comes to about 286,797. But death by abortion in the black community annually, it's 317,547 babies are killed annually. That comes to about 1,500 babies a day. At the end of the day, when the sun goes down, 1,500 black babies would have been aborted out of their mother's womb. And this is a horrifying genocidal practice that is happening in our community. Back in 2010, I put up a sign, a billboard in Soho, New York, that caused a stir across the country. And the sign went viral. The sign simply said, the most dangerous place for an African American is inside its mother's womb. And although that is a horrifying idea to think about, but it's true. If it's indeed the #1 killer of black people, then we need to recognize that there is a deliberate targeting of our community by Planned Parenthood and the eugenics movement in America. And this is the thing that most of us don't understand. This is a deliberate attempt to regulate and to control population. The power elite in America are deliberately trying to control population, and of course they begin with the minority community, and blacks in particular, where Margaret Sanger said that Negroes are like weeds. We need to get rid of them. This is historically documented. We're not making this stuff up. And so the eugenics movement is a movement that is attempting to get rid of what is called useless eaters, those who make no contribution whatsoever. And the more we go on the public dole, on government welfare systems, and with our hands standing out waiting for food stamps and for housing allowances and other kinds of things, milk for our babies and all that stuff, we become more and more of what they call useless eaters. We're on the public dole, and it becomes a justification in their minds to go ahead and to abort these young black babies. And by the way, Planned Parenthood is selling those baby parts for research and scientific investigations. And the truth of the matter is, the majority of those babies that are being sold are black babies and minority babies. 80% of all Planned Parenthood facilities are located in the black community and minority community. 80%. Do you think that's by accident? No, that's by design. And the unfortunate thing is, we as a community have been supporting the people who are pushing this death agenda in our community. And that political party, as much as this may offend a lot of people who may be listening, is the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is responsible for same-sex marriage. The Democratic Party is responsible for gender confusion and gender-neutral bathrooms that are going up around this country. That's the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party is responsible for redefining our values to a secular humanistic value system, and the church, the black church, is supporting that agenda. We are going to have to stand before God one day and give an account for this kind of confusion that's in our community, where there is an unholy mixture between God's agenda and the secular humanist agenda. And how can we as Christians support the Democratic Party? How can we support Hillary Clinton, who has made it clear that she's going to support the LGBT community's agenda, which is radically changing the definition of who we are as a people? And as quiet as it's kept, that they are pushing a curriculum inside our public schools that are reinforcing the idea, if a little boy believes that he is a little girl, that he can be a little girl. And if a little girl believes that she is a boy, that she can be a little boy. They are reinforcing this kind of madness among our children. And the truth of the matter is, because we have not stood up and fought this, it is becoming the predominant ideology within the marketplace. And I told my congregation here recently, I said, although we are standing foursquare against it, and we're training up our kids not to believe that, but our kids are going to go into those public schools, and they're going to see authority figures like teachers and lawyers and doctors and all of them supporting that. And they're going to come home one day and they're going to say, Mama, Daddy, you're the only one that believes that way, and you're the bigot. You're the bigot. Everybody else believes that it's normal, that it's okay, that a little girl can pretend to be a boy, and that a boy can pretend to be a little girl, and a man can believe that he is a woman and walk into a bathroom where my 13-year-old daughter is
Right, that's right.
and observe her using the bathroom. What is going on? This is right out of the playbook of the liberal left and the progressive movement in America, and the church in the black community is guilty
Yes.
of supporting that agenda.
And that is a lot said, because I remember my daughter, and as time progressed, God began to deal with me and my husband, and said that there was going to come a time where the saints were going to pull their children out of public school. And at that time, I could not comprehend as to why. But now that we're here, I see why. And we have public online school, our daughter, for now about 6 years.
Amen.
And we are responsible for protecting our seed. And it's really sad, because when you look at this, you got to question, how did we get here? What turn did we take? How did we get here? Because this is bigger than what people can really see. It might look small to somebody right now that's listening to us. And when I say small, you may look at it like, well, my baby is 2 years old, and hey, he or she is under my wing. But understand that the laws that are being passed are going to affect our nation for generations to come.
That's exactly right.
This is not something that you're going to be able to just pluck up.
And that's why it's important for us to participate within this election cycle. What's happening here is that there will be a number of Supreme Court justices who will resign. Is a vacancy right now. And if we allow a liberal progressive president to appoint liberal progressive judges, they will impact decision making and the culture for the next 30 years.
Yes.
For the next 30 years. These men and women are appointed for life.
Absolutely.
And so what we're facing here, I believe, is a situation that's requiring of us to be engaged, to be informed, and make a decision based upon what we see, processing that decision through the lens of our faith.
That's right. The one thing I would like to say is that the church has to do its job. And the church in the black community, now there are a lot of churches doing their job, but the church has to do its job in the black community. We're 11.9% of the population, 37% of the abortions. At election season, the Democrats come to the church and they talk to the saints with their pro-abortion, pro-homosexual, progressive selves, and we vote for them. They go back and they do nothing, but they have put a muzzle on the church. They have politicized the two greatest abominations: same-sex marriage, sodomy, and the killing of children, abortion, sacrificing your children to Molech. And the church has bought into that, and they can't speak out because they're in bed with the party. It's time to make a separation and stand with God.
Yes.
Put that biblical worldview in front of you.
Yes.
Put the devil behind you.
Absolutely.
And stick with the principles of God.
Yes. We are down to our last 30 seconds, and I truly, I'm enjoying this conversation. It's actually not long enough. However, we just want to encourage the people of God. When you go out to vote, make sure you vote per your convictions. Take them with you, because this is where we're off course, because we no longer have convictions. People do whatever's right in their own eyes. And we've got to turn back to God. It's just simple as that. As we turn back to God, God is going to turn back to us. This is Evangelist Suzanne Neal. We appreciate you listening in on today. God bless you, Pastor Broden and Evangelist Williams. We appreciate God for you being here, taking time out of your day. God bless you.